Thanks for tuning into our message at Coastal Christian Ocean City. For more information on anything going on here, you can visit our website at ccoceancity.com or check out our app in the App Store or Google Play. Today we have an awesome guest speaker joining us. Without further ado, here's today's message.
Welcome, Coastal Christian. My name is Jason Marshall. I am working here as a summer intern. Don't get up and leave just because Matt Mayer isn't here, Pastor Matt. Please lock the doors in the back. All right, it's tough. Haha, you found out it's me. You're stuck now. So thank you for being here. Again, my name is Jason Marshall, and it's my honor to be able to be up here. So thank you for Pastor Matt and Pastor Matt for giving me the opportunity to speak this summer. I got to speak during our baptism message on a Sunday if you weren't here. That was a lot of fun. And now here I get to bring you another message here on Thursday night because we got a great one coming up this weekend. Well, as you kind of saw from there, we're going to be talking about tonight fear. And we're going to be looking at that topic. And hopefully I can bring a fresh perspective on it for you. But one of my favorite quotes was from that movie. That was actually the movie After Earth. It was okay. You know, Will Smith, it looked like he had a good excuse to work with his son, there. So that was pretty cool. But during that, I love that scene where he's talking to his son about fear because his son is like the last hope. And his son is starting to lose hope. And so he kind of gives him this little pep talk. Son, listen, because what's interesting about that movie, right, is these aliens are blind and deaf, yet they're wiping out the human population. We'd say if they can't see and they can't hear, how do they find the people? Well, what's interesting is they find people through their sense of fear. And that's how they wipe out the entire earth, is they come down and they find the people. And so it just shows everyone is suffering from fear. You see, because it's funny, because I've asked a lot of people, would you say you're a fearful person? And not many people would say yes. Or the prayer team up here, it's rare that somebody comes up and goes, hey man, I'm struggling with fear. Fear is just wrecking my life. But yet, every one of us, as we look, fear is at the root. Listen, have you ever been anxious? Have you ever worried? Have you ever had doubt? Have you ever felt a little insecure? Ever had a low self-esteem towards something? Right? All of that actually has its root in fear. Anger, frustration, irritate, all these things are secondary to this primary thing called fear. And it's amazing to see that was how they were going to wipe out is just by sensing their fear. And then Will Smith in the movie figured out this thing called going ghost. One time he just let go of all of his fear and he said, all right, I'm all right. I'm going to die. Done. No more fear. And then the thing couldn't find him. And he went, whoa, it can't see me. And he realized in that moment, if I can squash my fear and take care of that, keep it in check, we can go ghost on these things, and then we can have the upper hand. So it's pretty cool. One of my other favorite quotes, you see, we live in Florida now, and I might even be here and miss the launching of Galaxy's Edge, which is in Hollywood Studios. It's the new one. Some of you are like, you're a loser, get out of here. No, but it's pretty exciting. But one of my favorite quotes is right here from my main man, and it's not because I'm short and ugly like him, but Yoda, right? Check this out. Check this out. Throw that Yoda quote up there. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. If you notice what was at the bottom of that, right? And he really kind of came out with this Yoda when young Anakin Skywalker, right? When he looked at him and he goes, right? And something's not right with this guy. I do that, but then I'm gonna hurt my throat and I can't speak the rest of the time. Something's not right with this Anakin. I sense great fear in him. And then he went on to say, right, because here's that root of fear and here's what it will produce. Suffering, hate, anger, right? These things are secondary to this root thing called fear. All right? And it's interesting. I'm gonna actually read this verse later, but the number one most shared verse last year on YouVersion, the Bible app, the most engaged shared verse was Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Yet, I'm sure if we polled people, they wouldn't say, oh man, I struggle with fear. Fears, but yet we notice there is something about fear. And so, here we go. Now, if I said, what's the opposite of fear? You would say, faith, right? Most people, yeah, right? And that's probably what we all hear. It's faith or fear. I'm gonna have faith or I'm gonna end up in fear. And I would kind of agree with that. However, I wanna put an alternative spin maybe or perspective for you. And this isn't original to me. Pastor Craig Rochelle in his book, Soul Detox, and that study, he presented an alternate kind of idea here when it comes to faith and fear and its relationship. And I took that and I ran with it. I loved it. It resonated with me. And I began to just go further and study deeper and look more into it because I was already really into fear, because I noticed in myself as I began to look inward and go, when did I ever go left when God was saying go right? When did I ever step back when I knew he was saying come forward, right? When did I shut my mouth when I knew I should have opened it up? When did I do those, or when did I open my mouth and I should have just shut it, right? When did I do that? And I kept peeling back and going, oh my goodness, it was fear. Fear. Fear is holding me back from becoming all that God wants me to be. It is this thing that's gonna hold me back. And so we're gonna look at 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. It'll be up there on the screens in a second. If you wanna flip there, we're gonna be there just for that one verse. I would encourage you to write it down and then go back and read around it, because it's neat. It's this letter from Paul, who's in jail. Paul, for those of you that don't know, was called Saul before. He hated Christians and wanted to wipe out the Christian movement. And so he was actually putting to death and imprison Christians. And his goal was to squash this movement, and then miraculously is able to be encountered by the living Jesus Christ after his resurrection, death, burial, and resurrection. And he meets him, is blinded, and it's this amazing story. And you can see it in the book of Acts. And then now, this same guy is now the one who's an ambassador for the gospel. The same message that he tried to wipe out. So here's what this guy, Paul, kind of realizing, man, I'm in prison. My ministry might be coming to an end. I've been in and out of prisons. I've been beat up. I've been stoned, and they thought I was going to die, and I was left there. But man, somehow God sustained me for a little bit more. And maybe it was to help raise up this guy, Timothy. Oh, Timothy. And a matter of fact, in the previous chapter of that, in 1 Timothy, he goes, oh, Timothy. This was this other man in ministry that Paul was raising up. And he was giving him some letters kind of on his way out in prison going, come on, Timothy. Timothy, brother. And he was encouraging him, trying to help him along. And here's where he got to him. The verse 6 right before that, he gets done telling him, oh, Timothy, man, stir up that gift in you. Fan it into a flame, Timothy, man. I see so much in you. I see your potential, man. Don't let anything get in the way, right? And then verse 7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, Timothy. That's not the spirit. The spirit inside you doesn't produce fear. It's not a spirit of fear or timidity or being afraid, but instead, Timothy, here's the spirit you got. It produces power and of love and of a sound mind. So if we look at this and we take this as our text here, Paul is presenting to Timothy that he's got two options. Fear will be produced in your life. Timothy, when they come knocking down your door saying, stop sharing the gospel, are you going to take a step back? Timothy, I know you saw what they're doing to me. And you know my suffering is probably going to become your suffering. And you're probably wondering, did I really want to do this for my rest of my life? Maybe I should have chose to do something else. Right? Timothy, you're going to be faced with this gospel that you've been entrusted with. Will you be afraid and shrink back in fear? And he's going, no, Timothy, that's not the spirit. But instead, it compares fear to something else. power, love, and a sound mind. Now, what do you notice when you're stricken with fear and fear is overcoming you? What are the first three things to go? Power. Don't you feel a little weak, helpless? Now, men, we tend to overcompensate then. That's when I can tell a man is scared, when they start to get bigger than they are. Right? That's when I can tell, oh, there's a root of insecurity there. The more they have to do this is because the more they feel like this. Every man I've counseled that we've been able to peel back and look down, they are trying to muster up because no one likes to feel powerless. No man wants to walk in leading his home, in a business, as an employee, and feel weak and powerless. So we unfortunately go the other way and we try to bring it. Love, right? No greater love than to give our life for a friend. The greatest act of selflessness is love. It's sacrificial for others. And isn't that the first thing that goes? Man, I'm starting to focus on myself. I get inward. I get, right, all wrapped up in me, whatever, right? And I get wrapped up in that. And then the next thing that goes is sound mind, irrational. Man, I start to think irrational. What if? And then, oh my gosh, and then do you think they're gonna, right? And my mind starts to go crazy. And my mind isn't sound and solid. Those are the first three things to go when we're living like this. And so as they go there, and you hear him proposing this two differences. So how is faith involved, and how does it impact these? Where does this end up coming from? What's interesting is a few verses before that in Timothy. I love it. Paul says to him, oh, Timothy, you know what I love about you? He says, is this genuine faith I see in you. So before he even talks about the spirit of fear and the spirit of power, love, and sound mind, he goes, oh man, you got this genuine faith, Timothy. And I know I'm persuaded by it because I saw it in your grandmom and your mom. And now I see it in you. Come on, Timothy. That's not the spirit that's in you. That one is, don't be ashamed of the gospel. And then he goes in and he tells this Timothy to do that. Just like you and I, man, as we are going to stand for this gospel. So first, let me define faith. It'll be up here, Hebrews 11:1. Because somebody go, okay, so first of all, what is faith before we can see how it's related, right? So let's pause, take a look at this. Now, faith is the substance, right, of things hoped for. Think of something that you hope for, right? If you, just like even in Star Wars and that, right? The hope, all these things, and they're talking about this hope. One of the things the enemy tries to do is take away your hope. And you know when it goes is when you feel like you have no substance of what you hope for. When you finally have let go of the last and you're like, I'm out of hope. But faith is when you got I got some substance. Hold on. Things are going to change. This is going to, wait, and you can get that substance, as well as the evidence or proof of things not seen. And what's great, there's another verse that talks about what is seen is temporary and what is unseen is eternal. Oh man, have we been living with our eyes on what we can see when he wants us to lift our eyes, right, to something else. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too, like the disciples with the feeding of the 5,000. It's so simple to see them, right? Here they go, and these disciples are faced with a feeding of a large crowd. And Jesus puts it on them. So how are we going to feed them? And what did they do? They immediately went to what they could see. And they went, all right, one guy pulled out his abacus, and he was like, no, sorry, we don't have enough resources, right? Another guy went up and he's like, I want to do a head count. Yeah, there's no way. And I calculated on my GPS the furthest town away that has a meal. Man, we're not making it. No way. We've got to just send them away. There's nothing we can do. No order out. Sorry. Then finally somebody comes back and goes, I got 5 loaves and 2 fish. This kid was reluctant to give it up, but I kind of said, man, we need it. Jesus, sorry, man, here's where we are. And he goes, oh, guys, come on. let's put our eyes on what you can't see, and that's this crowd being fed. And I'm gonna give you some evidence of that, some substance for you to use. And so then, as we know, Jesus prays, gives thanks, lifts it up, and boom, they're all fed with leftover. 12 baskets of leftovers. These people fed from that little bit. You see, because I believe our relationship with fear and this is just this. Our faith is something that we all have. Do we all have faith? Do you all have hope for something? Even if it's when you lost your job, you hope you get another. Even when it's that wife that or husband that you're struggling with and you hope it's gonna get better. Even that child that you're looking at and going, oh man, will they ever return back to the Lord? I trained them up differently. Oh, I hope, right? We all have hope in something that we can't see. And so we have this faith that we get to place somewhere. You see, I believe we're always walking and activating and moving in faith. Every one of us constantly are putting our faith somewhere. So I believe over here, this represents myself, man, and the world. You see, when I place my faith in myself, man, and the world, what will illuminate or operate in my life is fear. So, like those disciples sat there, they put their into their own, calculated, nope, this is all we got. See, they put their hope in and faith in man to provide. And now they're going, they were scared. They wanted to send them away. They would say, well, they weren't scared. They weren't fearful. They were. They were operating under fear, and they weren't operating with power and love for these people and a sound mind. However, I believe when we instead, at least they looked back and said, I don't know, Jesus, how are we gonna feed them? And in that moment, they began to shift their faith towards him. And as he began to, because if you notice at the end of that story, they're like, whoa, man, this Jesus, what did he do? You see, I believe we all have faith, this hope, and it depends on where we place our faith. And when we misplace our faith, fear will come out. Does that make sense? And when instead we place faith in God and his promises, what he's promised to you. I love it because in that same book, Craig Rochelle said this, when we place our faith in our what ifs, fear, we give root to fear and it operates in our life. And now where we are, I describe fear as like when this time I was carrying my one son who was 15 months old and I was walking him out to the car and I slipped on a patch of ice. And that feeling, it was like it just rushed up through my whole body and I panicked and I was like, oh my gosh, if I fall and I land on him and how am I gonna get that feeling? How many of us live with that feeling? That feeling, are they gonna reject me? My fear of loss, my fear of failure, my fear of rejection, my fear of the unknown. Right? And all that goes out the window, and here we are operating in here. But instead, when we take our faith, this little mustard seed, this little bit we got, and we go, man, I don't have much hope, and I can barely see anything, but I know that, man, I don't want my faith anywhere but in you, Jesus. And in you, God, you start to act in power. Love and sound mind. You start to make decisions based on love. Why did I make that decision just now? That was out of love. Oh my goodness, I would have never done that. Normally but instead, man, wow, I feel powerful when I've never felt like this before. Geez, I'm doing things that I've never imagined. All depends on where we're gonna place our faith. So hopefully that's kind of an interesting new look at faith compared with fear and this. Now, my son, who's here tonight, Jonathan, was stuck up in a tree in our backyard. They climbed up. Thankfully, he didn't climb up and get stuck where my other son was, which was all the way at the top. One day, we hear a voice out there, "Ma, Ma." My wife comes out. Where is he? Goes back, and, Mom, where are you? Up here. And you know that mom's thing, like he doesn't realize, right, where he is right now. And he's up there like, I mean, at the tippy top of this tree. And we're going, of course, she paused to take a picture to post it on Facebook. Like, can you find and it was one of those, can you find my son in this picture? You know? Thankfully, it wasn't at that moment that she caught him falling, but if it's on live, that's good, right? Because then that's disgusting. So, so there he is. My other son was climbing up the tree, and he's on a branch literally like this far away. Right here, he's on the branch, and he's hugging it. Because you know it's easier sometimes to climb up a tree, but then to get back down, you can't feel that other thing where it is, and it's just this, and you could see he was panicking, and he'd been trying for a little while. Dad. So I come out, what's the matter? And he's like, I can't get down. I'm like, all right, man, we'll jump. He goes, I'm not jumping. I said, well, here, I'm with you, man. I got you. Jump. And I put my hands out to catch him. And I wish I could tell you that he was like, my dad's here, and jumped in. But he looked at me and said, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? Come on, I'm your daddy. You know, it's me, man. I'm with you. And I kept trying to tell him, man, I'm here. It's me. And he's like, no, I'm not jumping. So then I decided to use some other logic. And I said, son, listen, because I realized he didn't trust me. He didn't trust that I would catch him. Of course, I wanted to be offended by that, but I didn't. So I just said, son. No. I said, remember that time that when I picked you up with one hand like this over my head, and you were all like, Dad, man, you're so strong. I said, yeah, remember that? And I said, remember that time when I picked you up by your feet and I carried you all the way down the hallway like that and threw you up into the bed? Yeah, I remember that. John, remember when I picked up that real heavy thing and that thing was twice your weight and you guys were like, Dad, you can't do that. And I did it, remember that? Yeah, Jonathan, jump. It's me. That's who's gonna catch you. And then he jumped and I caught him. You see, he started to know the one that said, I'm with you. As I began to give him substance and evidence, as I began to tell him, look, son, I can catch you. I'm strong enough. And worst case, if I drop you, it's not that far. No. I calculated it. If it was the other one way up there, I'd be like, I'm calling the fire. Jump. And he did. He jumped. And I caught him. And he learned to trust me a little bit more that day as he experienced, oh, okay, that's who's with me. That's who the one that says I'm with you. And so, man, he went from fear, placing his trust in the tree and himself, and he was panicking, right? No power, no love, no sound mind. But then, through our conversation, he began to put his trust in me, and then there we went. And so now, right, I want to read to you a little bit about these disciples again, because they were on a faith-building journey with Jesus. If you notice how many times he's like, oh, geez, where's your faith? Ye of little faith. Come on, guys. He was constantly showing and growing their faith so that one day this one man named Peter would deny Jesus, right? He placed his faith in himself, boom, denies Jesus 3 times, but then meets the resurrected Jesus Christ, and then boom, starts to operate in power, love, and sound mind. And now he's presenting the gospel. 3,000 people are getting saved. This would have never happened if Peter didn't take that little bit of faith left. As Jesus looked at him and said, do you love me? Yes. Do you love me? Yes, you know I do. Do you love me, Peter? Yes. Yes, I love you and nothing else. Then be my rock, Peter. Peter, I want to build my church on you. Wait till you see what's going to happen in the next coming days when my spirit comes upon you. Whew. So here we are in Luke chapter 8. Jesus calms the storm. I'm in verse 22. It's not up on the screens, so I'm just going to read it to you. If you just want to lean in and listen, jot it down in your notes, though. Luke 8:22. I wasn't going to read it. I was going to paraphrase it, but I just want to read it to you. One day, Jesus said to his disciples, let us go over to the other side of the lake. Stop there. Jesus just made a promise. Let us go over to the other side. So where's he planning on taking them? To the other side. He's already casted vision for where he wants them to go. Will they trust that he will take them there? Let's see. So they got into the boat. Sure, Jesus, man, let's do this. I like a little boat ride. And set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. Come on, Jesus. Okay. A little tired. He was probably up all night the night before praying, and as he usually did, right? A squall or crazy storm came down on the lake so that the boat was being swamped and they were in great danger. Yes, danger is real, as we saw in that. However, what we do when danger comes, right? We've got this option. These disciples at that moment, right? You know, these guys have already sailed, they've already rowed, they've already done this stuff. They're fishermen, they're all this stuff. So you know they went here first, right? Because they already did it when it came to feeding the 5,000. So they probably went, grab that, bail it out. Did it, you on the starboard, you on the stern, go. And you know they were doing this. And they started to sense the swamping of the boat and it going down. Now, you know, it just wasn't a little bit of water in there. They were probably like almost sea level, and it's up here, and they're going, this is it. And they look over, and there's Jesus. How many of us have ever wondered that when the storms of life hit? Let me tell you, I did a message a while back called The Struggle is Real, and there's first two questions that come to our mind when the storm hits. It's, where are you, God? And do you even care? Where are you, and do you care? And they answered that in that. He's in the stern, sleeping. Do you even care that we're about to die? And then what do you notice he does, right? The disciples went, woke him up. Master, we're going to drown. And he got up, and he rebuked the wind and the raging waters. Be still. Do you believe his promises are true? Do you believe that just with the power of his voice in your life, he can calm those storms like that? That he can go, be still. Or better yet, that the power of your own voice, through the power of the Holy Spirit, that he said, no, disciples, you're going to be glad when I go, because now you're just here with me in the flesh. You get to kind of hang out. But when I go, I get to deposit this spirit in you that's with you 24/7, and not just any old spirit, one that rose me up from the dead, man, it's in you. That same spirit that was upon Jesus to calm that storm is the same one that's in you, to you to look at the storms of your life and go, be still. For the chattering of your mind, be still. For the chattering of the voices from others into your life, be still. Be still. To give you that moment to go, not today. My faith in the midst of these storms will not be placed in my ability to get me out of them. My eyes will not be fixed on my circumstances, but instead I'm going to pick up my eyes, cast them on you, and I'm going to place my faith in your promise to heal, to bring me forth, to set me free, to be my help, to be my refuge, to be my healer. Oh, that God, you've promised that you would be there. You promised that you would make me righteous. You promised that you would sanctify me. You promised all these things to me, God. And it's all in your names. And so we continue, and here's, I love it. Jesus then looked at them after it's all calm and goes, where's your faith? It was over there. And that was a check in their mind right then. Where was your faith? Wasn't in me. And then I love their response. Who is this? You see, just like my son got to know me a little more that day, sometimes even in our own failures. When we've put it over here and we've gotten to the end and we go, and we hear the message, where's your faith? And you go, it's been here in myself, in the world, and no wonder I'm producing this. No wonder I see that in my life. Anger, insecurity, frustration, irritation, selfishness. No wonder that keeps coming out. And I keep trying to change it when it might just be a matter of this. Taking my faith and placing it in the promises of him and not in myself. God, you are greater than I. Your ways are greater than mine. Your thoughts are greater than mine. And I love it. Who is this? He commands even the winds and water, and they obey him. They learned a little bit more to trust him that day. They began to get to know what I say is the one that says, I'm with you. And we're going to go back to that verse right here. It's going to be up on the screens, Isaiah 41:10. And I want you to think of this. How well do you know the one that says, I'm with you? Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will. Now I'll think about it. Let me see what I can do. I'm busy right now, but I'll get to it. It's on my calendar. I will take you to the other side. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. The one that did this to the cosmos and the universe, this right hand, yeah, that planet's spinning. There you go. As a matter of fact, I'm going to speak some light in here too. That same hand is right here ready to uphold you. So why would fear ever come in? Why would fear ever come out in our lives? And I believe it's because we don't truly know the one that's with us. Because if you knew the one that said, don't worry, daughter, I'm with you. Don't worry. Stop stressing. Stop being full of anxiety and all. Man, I am with you. Now I get it, right? Because I imagine myself walking down a dark alley, right? And here I am about to walk down a dark alley. And a little voice comes from behind me and says, don't worry, I'm with you. And it's a little 4-year-old girl. Let's be honest. Am I still gonna worry and be concerned about walking down this dark alley that I know along the way people have been robbed and mugged? Yeah, I'm gonna worry. I might worry even more because now I gotta take care of you too. But what if instead I look back and I hear, I can't even get my voice deep enough, I'm with you. And I look back and it's a guy and he's bigger and I'm like, okay, it's better than that. But wouldn't my first question be, but who are you? And he goes, don't worry, man. Special ops team. Navy SEALs, served on them all. Man, I've infiltrated every dark corner of this world and overcome it. Man, I got you back. You want to go in? Now, honestly, I'm going to not only say yes, but I might even go, I hope somebody comes out. Dude, all right, man, come on. Oh, you creeping out? That's okay. I'm going to handle that walk totally different when I begin to play. So when you begin to know the God that says, I'm with you, I believe your faith, you'll begin to stop putting it here and yourself and in your world and in those things, and you'll start putting it here. And you start going, man, I don't know you very well, but I want to. And I read a story. See, this is where it comes from. You borrow some of that. But I read a story where this happened. And it's better than the story I know I'm going to write. So here, I'm going to put it in you. And then you experience it, man, in a whole new way. And then you go, whoa, look at that. I handled that situation with my spouse in power, love, and sound mind. Hey, I handled that sickness walking through with my child in power, love, and sound mind. Whoa, as I began to put my trust in him. But see, you won't trust him if you don't know him. And I know it's going to take that journey for you to begin to know him more. Which is why I'm actually going to be doing a study. I can't handle that here. Otherwise, I'd go way over. And that study's going to be about knowing the one that's with us. And so I'm actually, if you can write it down or whatever, it's Marshall's on a Mission is our Facebook page that my wife and I do. And I'm going to be doing a series going through his promises, which are his names. So when you get to know his name, which is his promise, and you begin to walk and trust in faith in that promise, right? Jehovah and all, right? Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha, right? All those, the healing, all that comes through him, right? His, that he wants to do, we can begin to walk in a life of power, love, and sound mind when we know him. So if you wanted to follow that, that's what I'm going to do there. But I'm going to begin to now close. And I want to share with you the story of Peter when he walked on water. And I want you to think of this. I want you to think of Peter, this guy. And if you don't know, I'm going to tell you. This guy, Peter, who's kind of bold, right? And he goes, man, Jesus, what's up? And they go, hey, man, all right, guys, you go head on out. I'm going to go pray, and I'll meet up with you. So they get in the boat, and they push off. And Jesus is out, right, praying on a mountain right side, and he looks over, and he can see the boat, and he can see them kind of not making headway. It's like rowing a boat into a hard wind and into the current in the back bays here when it just switched from the slack tide going the other way. And you're like, oh, man. And you look over and you're kind of going backwards. That's what they're stuck in. And so Jesus goes, oh, my boys, hold on, guys. I'm with you. And he walks out on the water, right? He wasn't going to swim over there. He wasn't going to grab another boat. So Jesus starts walking over to them. And he gets there, and of course, they're scared at first. Whoa, who is that? It's a ghost. And he goes, no, it's me. It's me, guys, Jesus. Don't be afraid. It's me. I'm with you. And Peter goes, oh, wait. If it's you, call me out on that water. Call me out into those waters, Jesus. And he goes, come on out, Peter. And Peter, it says, gets out. And with power and love and a sound mind, Peter is walking on water. Oh, Jesus. Now, I don't know what happens in that moment, but all it says is that he noticed the wind and the waves. And then I think Peter started doing this. Oh my gosh, I'm walking on water. I'm walking on water, right? One of those moments like, what? And he goes, this is impossible, right? The surface tension of the water are calculated by my body mass and the distribution of weight. There's no way. This can't happen. Science does not. Oh, man. And he begins to, the wind, the waves, and he starts to take his eyes off of Jesus and begin to look at the wind and the waves. And then if you know what begins to happen, fear comes in, and it says he begins to sink. And he's going deeper. And what's great about Peter, as much as we want to fault him, he noticed when he began to sink, his first response, though, was what? Save me, Jesus. Some of you are sinking deep right now. The waves and the storm of life. Now listen, Jesus never changed in that moment. He didn't say, be still, and the wind and waves went away. Did you notice that? Instead, he immediately picked up Peter. You see, sometimes our circumstances never change. But what can change is how we operate in those circumstances. Will we put our eyes on our circumstances, our thoughts, our feelings, and we're trapped in our thoughts and our feelings and our circumstances? Anybody here ever been trapped there? Where all I can see is this. And I'm sinking. And that feeling of fear is overwhelming me. So you know what I do? I sink my eyes even harder on it all. And I go, well, then maybe if I try this and I do this and I do that, and I keep putting my faith in myself and in this world, well, maybe that will, and maybe they will help me, and maybe that. And we get lower and lower and lower. And today I'm going to give you a time today to be able to do like Peter did and just immediately reach up, and he will pull you out. When you do this, because when you reach towards him, here's what's interesting about fear. Fear begins to reveal to us what we value the most. You see, when I have a fear that my wife might leave me, so I begin to protect that. I go, you see, it's because I value her so much that I'm actually blocking it with fear. And I start to put my faith and trust in myself to, no. Oh no, is she Why is she making that call? Why is she writing that? And I start to operate here. Now I'm irrational. I have no power. Man, and now I start treating her without love. And when I hold my love back, she starts to feel that, and then she starts to act disrespectful back to me, and we end up in this crazy cycle. And we get deeper and deeper, and we're trapped. But man, all we got to do is reach out. So what I want you to do right now is begin to name what that is that you're sinking in. What is it in your life that you have done this and you're putting your own faith into? Is it a job? Is it a sickness that you need to deal with? Is it a family member? Is it a job? Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? Is it a decision? What is the thing that you're so tempted to do this with? Or that you've already done this and you're noticing, geez, Jason, I'm so deep. It's like my face. Have you ever been in a pool and you're just trying to get your lips above the water? Jason, that's where I am today. I might even be underwater. But today, I want to give you an opportunity. But right now, as the band begins to play, I just want you to begin to ask God, show me this and show me how I can trust you. And then in a bit, I'm going to give you a moment to respond to that with our prayer team.
As a church, we believe it's our responsibility to connect our community to Christ. So if you've enjoyed the message today, and we'd like to invite you to share it with your family and friends. We'll see you next week.